And we are live, everybody. Thank you very much for joining us. I see Kate's just joined us. I'm going to say hi to Kate real quick. Thank you, Kate, for coming in and supporting us. Okay, so we're going to talk tonight about Jimi Hendrix, and I'm especially excited about this because I've been a fan of Jimi Hendrix since well, it was either late junior high or going into my freshman year in high school. I was a fan instantly. Hearing the first song, I was a fan of Jimi Hendrix, and I don't know if there is a bigger fan of Jimi Hendrix, to tell you the truth. I mean, I just really loved his music. I mean, it really affected me. It was fantastic. I mean, such a composer, songwriter. I mean, a guitar player, just an amazing guitar player. I would say that on almost, if not every single list I've ever read, including the one in Rolling Stone magazine I bought a year or so ago, Jimi Hendrix, when they list the top 100 guitarists, he's always number one. I think I might have saw a poll once that didn't have him one, had him two, or something like that. It's always like Hendrix and Jimmy Page and a few others, that are up there at the very tip top. But Hendrix is great. Always loved his musicianship. Okay, so let's get into this a little bit. Jimi Hendrix was born in 1942, November 1942, and he sadly made a member of the 27 Club by dying at the age of 27, September 1970. And his career really only spanned 3 to 4 years. When I say his career, I mean as a like a rock god with his own band topping the charts, kind of a thing. He was in many bands. I mean, if you want to go way back to the beginning, his father bought him his first guitar when he was 16 years old, and that was an acoustic guitar. And he could barely hear the guitar over the loudness of all the other, the drums and the bass and the other instruments in the band. So at 16, a year later, that was at 15 years old. A year later, his father bought him his first electric guitar. But when he bought him his first acoustic, he formed his first band, the Velvetones, Velvetones, and he started that band with the acoustic guitar. Later on, like I said, his father bought him an electric guitar. He's left-handed. The guitar was right-handed. So as we've seen since that first electric guitar, he's always played a right-handed guitar, left-handed, and strung it upside down to where the low E is where the high E would typically be. And it does change the tone, and they attribute a little bit of his difference of tone with that, because if you look at the bridge pickup on a Fender Stratocaster, the first two pickups are straight. This one's slanted. So the way those strings come across that last pickup, it's picking it up differently because they're not in the same place if it was strung properly. I've heard people speculate that's not what made him a great guitar player, but it tweaked his tone just a little bit. Plus, he had a different tuning that he used. I think it was some kind of drop D tuning. Okay, so we've been joined by Novice Nick. Hey, Novice Nick, how you doing, buddy? It's good to see you in here. We really appreciate it.
I kind of wonder, you said his first band was the Velvetones.
Yes.
I wonder if that has anything to do with why there's so many velvet paintings of Jimi Hendrix out there.
Oh, I haven't really thought about it like that.
I mean, him and Elvis have the market on that velvet painting thing.
Right. Well, as soon as he got that electric guitar, now he's in a new band that he formed called the Rocking Kings, the Rockin' Kings, And he was in a lot of different bands of his own. I don't know, there's probably more than any of us know. He was also in Jimmy James and the Blue Flames, and eventually he wound up going in the Army, and he became a paratrooper, and he hurt himself on a parachute jump and got a medical deferment. Totally legit. He wasn't trying to get out or anything. Mary Jane just joined us. Hi, Mary Jane. How are you? Thank you so much for coming in and watching the show. We really appreciate you. So anyway, so he was in the Army, paratrooper, got hurt, got a medical deferment, got back to the States, and became kind of a session guitar player where he was playing for a lot of different people. but primarily he was playing for the soul artist. He played for Little Richard. He played for the Isley Brothers. He played some backup for oh God, the Godfather of Soul. Let's see, James Brown, the Godfather of Soul. He actually lived with one of the Isley Brothers for between 4 and 5 years too, playing for the Isley Brothers. That's a great story. And I heard Ernie Isley, the son of one of the Isley Brothers, who was a little kid while Jimi Hendrix was living with them, at a tribute to Hendrix concert where all these great guitar players came and played Hendrix songs. I heard him say that Hendrix taught him to play the guitar when he was a little kid, and talking about how he lived with his parents and they were friends, and how when Ernie Isley, I'm telling you, started playing, he sounded just like Jimi Hendrix, you know. In fact, that night everybody in there did, because they were all playing Hendrix songs, and they were all great players too. So anyway, we got Dave, the pickup artist, here. How you doing, Dave? Good to see you. We're talking about Jimi Hendrix and his career. And the thing that really inspired me to do this, number one, I'm the world's biggest Jimi Hendrix fan. I love Jimi Hendrix's guitar playing. But number two, he just had his 80th birthday, had he lived. His 80th birthday was a couple of weeks, a week and a half, 2 weeks ago. And, you know, I haven't read a single thing about it online anywhere, or heard anybody mention it, or any of the other podcasters bring it up. So
No.
I really wanted to do this, just kind of a tribute to someone that we lost so young, that influenced so many people. So that's why we're doing this tonight. Hi, Dave, the pickup. Good to see you, brother. And also we have DJH. I'm sorry, I just have to stop and say hi when people pop in. It's just part of the deal here. Okay, so Jimi Hendrix got a deferment out of the military. He was a paratrooper. He hurt himself on a jump. He got let out. He started to become a session guitarist when he got back home, and then he started playing for all these blues organizations, blues bands organizations. I mean, like Little Richard. Little Richard fired him because he said Jimi Hendrix was always late. He was always chasing women, and he was always late, you know. You had he played for a good little while with the Isley Brothers, because he actually lived with them. He also played for Ike Turner of Ike and Tina Turner fame, and I've said this story too many times. Probably everybody here has heard it twice, but Ike in an interview, and you can find that interview on YouTube. You know, if you do a YouTube search for Ike Turner firing Jimi Hendrix, it'd be an interview, and he goes, "You fired Jimi Hendrix?" The interviewer says. He goes, well, you know, he was always messing with those pedals. He had a wah pedal, and he had the fuzz pedal, and he had this pedal, and he had that pedal. And he spent more time messing with those pedals than he spent playing, so I fired him. And he goes, and then later on, when I started hearing about Jimi Hendrix as a rock god, I didn't know his name, Jimi Hendrix. I love that one. I love that one. I loved when Jimi Hendrix played backup for Junior Walker and the All-Stars, another great soul band. Had the big song Shotgun, shoot 'em while they run. Shotgun, shoot 'em while they run. Anyway, so Jimi Hendrix and the horn section are behind the two lead guys for Junior Walker and the All-Stars. And imagine this, Jimi Hendrix in a suit and a tie, and with the horn section, he's rocking back and forth while he's playing. And I think that's just hilarious, especially when you see how the guys, the front guys, are dancing while they're doing this. It's just hilarious. Check it out. So anyway, so he played all these people, and so let's get into how he got started as Jimi Hendrix, the rock god. Okay, so he's playing all over in clubs. He's playing in Greenwich Village and all these places. And there was a guy named Chas Chandler. Now, Chas Chandler was playing in what later became it was the Alan Price Trio, which later became Eric Burdon and the Animals. So Chas Chandler is the bass player in the Alan Price Trio. And later on in 1963, Eric Burdon joined the band, and they renamed the band the Animals. And then they came out with their huge hit, one of my favorite songs of all time, and that's House of the Rising Sun. They came right back behind that with, you know, we gotta get out of this place. They just hit after hit after hit. And so there's some issues with the lineup, and Chas Chandler wound up leaving leaving. He wanted to be a talent scout. He wanted to be a producer. He wanted to be a record maker. He wanted to do all these different things. So he flew to New York looking for talent. And believe it or not, Keith Richards' girlfriend at the time said, "You got to go see this guy playing at the Wha Club." Wha spelled WHA without a T, like the what club, the Wha Club. So Chas Chandler goes down and he's just blown away watching Jimi Hendrix play at this club. And and it wasn't a huge venue, but it was in Greenwich Village, popular hangout place. And so Chandler started talking to Jimmy and said, "Hey Jimmy, you need to come to England with me. We'll set you up with some good musicians, and you're really gonna set the world on fire, man." So Jimi Hendrix agreed to let Chas Chandler, formerly from Eric Burdon and the Animals, bass player, agreed to let him manage him. So they flew to England, and first thing they had to do was put a little band together because he didn't have any backup, So they interviewed people like Noel Redding, who was playing with a lot of different bands. None of them were really going anyplace, but he was a really good bass player. And they decided Noel Redding would be great. Jimi Hendrix liked him personally. He liked his attitude about music, and he liked that he wore an afro like Jimmy did. So then there was Mitch Mitchell. Mitch Mitchell was a session drummer. If you know anything about session musicians, they're like the top guys. Bands hire and pull them in when they're recording and stuff because they want the best. So Mitch Mitchell was a session drummer. They pulled him in. He was fantastic. And I just want to say one thing about Mitch Mitchell. I have read so many of these top 10 drummers, top 50 drummers, top 25 drummers. And it's rare, if ever, that I ever see his name. And I think Mitch Mitchell from the Jimi Hendrix Experience is the most underrated drummer of all time. Because when you listen to a Jimi Hendrix Experience song, and you hear how the drum is interplaying with Jimi Hendrix's guitar playing, and it reminds me, and the only thing that comes to mind when I'm listening to this is John Bonham and Jimmy Page. That interlude between the two is just like perfection. And Mitch Mitchell and Jimi Hendrix have the same thing. And in fact, Mitch Mitchell even tried out for The Who, before they ever hired Keith Moon. They didn't have Keith Moon wasn't in The Who yet. They tried out Mitch Mitchell because that was the quality of a musician he was known to be. And they wound up not settling, but they chose Keith Moon. So anyway, again, I had to just say that I think he's one of the best drummers of all time. I would put him in the top 5. And if I read a top 25, I won't even see his name, which I think is kind of sad. So there's Marvin and Malaya. Okay, so we're getting some action here. Malaya and Marvin come to listen to us and join us. And we're talking about Jimi Hendrix. And I'm going to say hi to a couple of people here.
Something I'm curious about, that Jimi Hendrix was also known for his technical innovation of the amplifier and the guitar and create that new distortion sound. Now, what I'm curious about, when did he become famous? When did people recognize Jimi Hendrix as we know him now? Was it before his technical innovation or was it after?
No, I think the technical innovation was always part of his style.
Okay.
When he went to England with Chas Chandler as manager, they put him together with Noel Redding and Mitch Mitchell. And in fact, it was the manager at the time for the actual Animals, where Chas Chandler had come from, the group The Animals, that suggested he drop the name he was using and use his own name, Hendrix. And so he did that. And that same manager for the Animals suggested that Jimmy, let's see, called the name of the band The Experience, the Jimi Hendrix Experience. That all came from the manager of the Animals. And so as soon as they started playing, they were blowing people away. I mean, rock royalty was coming to watch Jimi Hendrix play. And there's so many stories about Eric Clapton going backstage and trying to light a cigarette, and looking at the guy he was with saying, "Is he really that good?" And that's quite a compliment coming from Eric Clapton. They used to paint on the walls in the alleys and stuff, Clapton is God. He was such a great guitar player, and to see that kind of compliment is just amazing. Okay, hi Bill K. Thanks for joining us, bro. We're talking about Jimi Hendrix, his career, His 80th birthday just came and went, and I didn't see anybody talking about him, and it just kind of it kind of saddened me because I'm such a big fan. I thought there would be like all kinds of talk about Jimi Hendrix. Everybody with a podcast would have a show on him, and yet nobody with a podcast had a show on him. And anyway, Marvin, sorry, Marvin, the chat's going, and I'm talking too much.
Now, I'm kind of surprised. I'm kind of surprised that Jimi Hendrix never had a song in the top 10.
No, he never had a song in the top 10. Never.
That just blows me away. I mean,
oh, I know. Yeah. Well, he came out with "Hey Joe," and I think it reached, I don't know, 14 or something like that. And then right after that, he came out with "Purple Haze," and that was those two songs. They did well, but not like you said. They weren't in the top 10.
Yeah.
That always surprises me.
Well, some of your most famous musicians, have made it big without even some people not even having any radio play.
No, I know that's exactly right. I mean, what was? Do you know what Led Zeppelin's #1 hit was? I'm not 100% sure they had one either, to be honest with you.
Well,
I can't leave the house, get in my car, and turn the radio on, and not hear them play something before I get home. I mean, that's how popular they still are after all these years.
Well, Michael Nolan's out in the chat. He would know.
Oh, he is.
If what Led Zeppelin had at the top, what their #1 was. I'm going to say "Whole Lot of Love."
I'm going to say the same. I'm going to say the same thing. So you saw Michael Nolan in the chat, huh?
He was.
Oh, he's way at the very top. Yeah. Hey, Michael, I'm going to put a link on. We'd love to have you join us. I think this would be a really good show for you. Okay. Yeah, sorry, I didn't see you. Okay, Michael Nolan, the bottom line is here. One of our favorite podcasters. Great show. Very, very, very smart show. Anyway, so Michael, I just put a link up. Love to have you jump on the show and have some fun with us, and let's talk about Jimi Hendrix. So, Jimi Hendrix, he kind of fused jazz, soul, rock, and just kind of reformed it in his own image, just like nobody ever did before, But what I want to do now is I want to just talk about the Jimi Hendrix experience here for a minute. So they put that first album out, and I have my original copy of that first album, the Jimi Hendrix Experience. And it's actually this should be an original press because I've had it forever. And it's actually in very decent shape. So we're going to be doing a little bit of unboxing tonight too. And of course, Reprise Records, that was known to be Jimmy's label, not Jimmy's label, but the label that he used on everything. So anyway, I mean, the vinyl is actually in decent shape, but I wound up buying a new one. Anyway. And for some reason, the Hendrix stuff is actually reasonably priced. I bought a brand new Jimi Hendrix Experience right here. Same identical cover and everything like that. Brand spanking new. And I got this for $13.87 a year ago at Walmart. And it's a great album. I mean, I was just blown away at the price, to be honest with you. Okay, so that's the Jimi Hendrix. That's the first album they came out with. And it was just, it was, again, like you said, Dan, they didn't have any #1 hits, really. But, I mean, it was kind of a little different kind of music, I think, too,
Yeah, it was.
Maybe it didn't have popular appeal at the time. And, it's like my sister heard me playing Jimi Hendrix. I think I was in 8th grade. And she walks in my bedroom and goes, "Is that Jimi Hendrix?" And I go, "Yeah." "Why? You like Jimi Hendrix?" She goes, "No, I can't stand him." And I said, "Well, what do you mean?" She goes, "Well, did you know when he's singing, he gets real close to his microphone pole and rubs his thingy on his microphone pole?" And I said, "What?" She goes, yeah, everybody knows that, He rubs himself up against his microphone, but it's probably true." But I go, "Well, I just like his music." And she was just disgusted with me for listening to that. So the next thing I know, I'm coming out of my bedroom. I'm confronted with my mother in the hallway, and she says, "Is that true what Donna said?" I go, "I don't know. I just like his music." Okay. I never heard another word after that. Everybody let it go. Okay, so we're missing out on some chat here. Let's get some comments out here. I can't tonight, Royce. I'm on an antique phone, but thanks for the invite, brother. Next time. Okay, Michael, thanks a lot, man. We appreciate you being here. Totally. Billy Gibbons used to play with Jimi Hendrix at some point. Do we know anything about that, Royce? You know, I've heard the same thing, but you know, I really don't. I really didn't find that. If anybody knows, anybody out there knows anything about Billy Gibbons and Jimi Hendrix playing together, let's get a comment on the chat, or I'll even bring you on and you can talk about it. Okay, so Marvin says Jimmy found the box when he got to England, and all the things he did and were perfect for each other, and he got that sound. Practice and luck with a combination. Well, that's exactly right. You know, if Chas Chandler hadn't found him at that club in Greenwich Village and talked him into going to, you know, England with him, because Jimi Hendrix wasn't a star here. He was playing in a club, a club band. And he didn't become a star till he went to England and got put together with Noel Redding and Mitch Mitchell, the drummer. And it was only then that they put an album out that just totally blew up, you know. And I mean, their last show, if I remember right, the last show they did in England after they'd become big stars in England, at that show were like John Lennon, Paul McCartney, just so many celebrities, you know, like that were at that show because they were all in awe of Jimi Hendrix's guitar playing, and everybody wanted to see him. Okay, so I don't know anything about that. Marvin says that Bill K. Janis did a few hours together with Johnny Winter, did a jam. Chicago was asked to go on a future tour together. Okay, thanks, Marvin. Thanks for the insight, input. Okay. My devices are uploading my latest, so I'm on a phone that the ancient Greeks must have used. That's great, Michael. Laughing out loud. Hey, Gary Springs here. Hi, Gary. How you doing, buddy? Thanks for joining us. You are appreciated. Everybody's appreciated. I want to thank everybody that's in the chat right now, and also want it to be known that anybody that watches the show later, I mean, we have 187 videos now spread across a few different playlists, and all those videos are always available anytime. I mean, we love you to come to the chat. But we certainly appreciate you coming. I mean, just going to the show and watching it, whether it's the live chat or not. You appreciate doing that too, because it's helping the show to grow. I mean, go ahead if you guys don't mind. Hit the there's that Sex 69 fun again. Okay, I just blocked her out. She showed up last week and the week before too. Okay, so yeah, 69 fun. Well, yeah, it sounds like fun, but not on my show, you know. Anyway, maybe with my wife later. So anyway, we're doing it and doing the show here, and Jimi Hendrix is the topic. And okay, so when he left, what I was saying was when he left England, it was like a who's who of rock stars, English rock stars, showed up to see his final show because they all knew he was leaving. And he came back. He was like a celebrity when he got home. But that was all created in England. It wasn't created in the United States. You know, it wasn't until after he released some albums in England that he came home a celebrity. So as I said, this was the #1 first studio album by Jimi Hendrix, the Jimi Hendrix Experience. And what a bunch of fantastic songs. Purple Haze, Manic Depression, Hey Joe, Love or Confusion, sorry. Many times, May This Be Love. I don't live today. Man. Okay, The Wind Cries Mary, Third Stone from the Sun, Are You Experienced? You know, Foxy Lady. I have a hard time choosing, but I would have to say that my favorite song there is probably Hey Joe, almost a tie with Purple Haze, you know. But I mean, I absolutely love The Wind Cries Mary. But that just shows you the stylistic wise Hendrix's range. You know, from Hey Joe killing his killed his old lady to something like The Wind Cries Mary, and the psychedelic aspects of his music too. So anyway, I Don't Live Today. These songs are just fantastic. Manic Depression, Fire, Foxy Lady, Are You Experienced? I mean, this is my number one Hendrix album. This is my favorite album, you know. And now, what I regret to say is, for some reason, I don't have the second studio album, which is Axis Bold as Love. But I do have this CD, along with the 159 others, was gifted to me a while back. I'm going to be doing a show on that. So I have Axis Bold as Love here, too, in CD. And it's Up from the Sky, Spanish Castle Magic, Wait Until Tomorrow, Ain't No Telling, Little Wing. What a dynamite song Little Wing is. I mean, everybody's tried to cover that.
They have.
I mean, even Pantera covered it, didn't they?
Yeah. Oh, they did.
Yeah. Yeah. And Stevie Ray Vaughan. Ray Vaughan did a great cover of it, too. If 6 Was 9, You Got Me Floating, Castles Made of Sand, She's So Fine, One Rainy Wish, Little Miss Lover, and Bold as Love. There's great songs on this, too, you know. So that's the second studio album. But before I get too far ahead of myself, this was a 51st anniversary of Purple Haze, issued in a 45. And I don't know what I was doing when I came across this, but I ordered it immediately. Purple Haze in a 45, reprise label in purple translucent vinyl. How crazy is that? Yeah, like I said,
it's almost the same color as my background.
That's right. Hey, yes, it is, isn't it? Oh my gosh, blends right in. So anyway, Purple Haze. I love that song. I screw around on the guitar still, and I can't help myself. That's one of the ones I've been working on. I haven't got, you know, as far as I should have got. I recently made a new acquisition. You'll see it right there. It's a Jaguar. It's kind of a surf guitar in surf green. And I just took it to the shop and had a professional setup done. It sounds good. With the reverb on, you're playing surf stuff. It's just amazing. Okay, so what do we have here? Marvin. To me, Royce, his 5 albums are just one amazing trip. Those of us who are devoted fans and Hendrix and many, many, many. Oh, yeah. No, I agree, Marvin. And I am a devoted fan. I argue with anybody that doesn't like Jimi Hendrix. He's just fantastic. Michael, Electric Ladyland is my favorite. That was Jimmy on Fire. Creatively superb. Your choice is great too, Royce. Well, thank you. And you know what? As fate would have it, I have Electric Ladyland right here. And and like some of my more recent acquisitions, it's never been opened. So I'm going to do a real unboxing. And I believe this is going to be a gatefold, a 2-album set. 2-album set, 3-album set, maybe. I got to get this open because I got to start playing these.
Hey, Michael, you might be right. Me having a Purple Haze aura when I was young, when I was much younger.
Oh yeah. Okay, well, this is what happens when you start unboxing on the show. You have a hard time getting things open and closed back up. Okay, so here we go. Electric Ladyland. We're going to open up the gatefold. We're going to have some great pictures in here. Look at that. Okay, Electric Ladyland, the Jimi Hendrix Experience. Studio album number 3, and the last one to be put out that wasn't posthumously, you know. Okay, so here we've got the albums. I don't need to pull all the vinyl out. I've got too many Hendrix albums here. This would take all night. But the other cool thing is it does come with a book, a program, Dan. It comes with a program. You know, look at Jimmy. He was flamboyant. I can't remember the name of the street in England where he used to shop and the Beatles shop, but they wore all this flamboyant, clothing back then when they were playing. Okay. See if there's another picture here to look at. Yeah, here we go. All right, check it out. Check it out. Okay, so that's Electric Ladyland, and I've got a few others I'm going to be showing as well. Let me see if I can get this one put away safely here real quick. All right, so Dan, were you a big Hendrix fan or not so much, or?
Not a big fan. I mean,
Not a big fan.
I respected his work, and especially his technical ingenuity. I mean, because if it wasn't for Jimmy getting that sound out of that guitar like he did, I mean that started a whole nother sound for rock and roll.
A whole nother sound. That's exactly right.
It wouldn't be what it is today.
Well, he had like Ike Turner said, he had the fuzz, he had the wah wah.
Yeah,
all these pedals,
distortion. The distortion. Everybody uses distortion now. I mean, rock and roll wouldn't be rock and roll without distortion in it.
No, it would not. It would not. It's completely different without it. So anyway, some of these songs on Electric Ladyland, we've got Red House, probably my favorite blues song. I love that song, Red House. Red House over yonder. Spanish Castle, Magic. Hear My Train A-Comin'. Michael, I get it, man. I mean, Hear My Train A-Comin'. There's two versions of that, electric and acoustic. He plays the acoustic on a 16 string, 12 string, I'm sorry. A 12 string acoustic guitar with that big hat with the feather coming out of it. And he starts out and he makes a little mistake and he wants to start over, so he starts over. And it's just a fantastic song. I used to practice that a little bit on the acoustic guitar. It made me feel good when I went down to Lightning Joe's Guitar Heaven. And I grabbed an acoustic guitar off the shelf and started playing the intro. And he goes, "Hear My Train A-Comin'." I go, "Oh, you recognize it?" He goes, "Yeah." And I never, ever hear anybody come in here and try to play that song. That made me feel good. But Star Spangled Banner. I mean, come on. Purple Haze is on here. Woodstock improvisations on here. Let's see. Fire, Voodoo Child. Well, that's the whole thing, Michael. They've got Voodoo Child. They've got Hear My Train A-Coming. If I'm not mistaken, Voodoo Child. There's a couple of versions of that too. No, this is a fantastic album, Electric Ladyland. I love these songs. So anyway, that's
somebody was mentioning, Billy Gibbons and Jimi Hendrix. I can't see where they ever performed together, but I do see where in 1969, Billy Gibbons went to a concert in LA at the Forum and saw Jimi Hendrix perform. He was actually sat on the side stage, and he was totally blown away with what he was doing with that Fender Stratocaster. He said,
right.
I
have to apologize. I picked up Hendrix live at Woodstock when I was reading those songs off just now instead of Electric Ladyland. And it's got have you ever been to Electric Ladyland? The Gods Made Love, Crosstown Traffic, Voodoo Child, great songs. Little Miss Strange, Long Hot Summer Night, Gypsy Eyes. I'm skipping here now. Let's see. House Burning Down, Still Raining, Still Dreaming, All Along the Watchtower, and Voodoo Child, Slight Return. That's what I knew. I must be holding the wrong album because Voodoo Child wasn't the last song on the album. Anyway, so Dan, you were saying that you don't think Billy Gibbons ever really played with him, or?
I don't see anything wherever he has, but he did see him in concert. He was on the side stage watching his performances, and he was blown away with what he was doing with that Fender Stratocaster. He said he was doing things to that guitar that the designers had no clue, that it could do it. And,
that's exactly right.
Evidently, they're coming out with a 2-disc vinyl and CD, and it's called The Jimi Hendrix Experience, the Los Angeles Forum, April 26, 1969. And that's the one that Billy Gibbons actually does a preface in the package for this. So I guess he's kind of like I don't know if it's maybe a booklet in there But I guess Gibbons is a part of this 2-disc vinyl CD set that's coming out.
Okay.
But not
Yeah,
actually.
so we've been joined by a couple of other podcast friend of mine. We've been joined by Aaron, goes by the handle Mr. Bizarro on his show, and Adam D's also joined us. Daddy Boggs has joined us, and thank you guys. Mr. Bizarro, what's up, Royce and Dan? We're talking about my man Jimi Hendrix. Just had his 80th birthday about a week and a half ago, and I didn't see one word about it on the internet or YouTube. So I had to do something. Being a huge Jimi Hendrix fan, I had to step up and say something about that. So
he had a song I thought was kind of interesting. The first I've heard of this. Have you heard the song "The Ballad of Jimmy"?
No, I have not. I have not heard of that. No.
Well, some people are saying that he actually predicted his death through that song.
Really?
Yes. Part of the lyrics is many things he would try, for he knew soon he'd die. Now Jimmy's gone. He's not alone. His memory still lives on. 5 years, this he said. So I guess that's some of the lyrics in that song.
Yeah. You know what's funny is we got on the subject of Jimi Hendrix last week. I'm not sure how, and somebody said that they had heard that maybe he was killed by the CIA or something like that, and and I told the story that I was taking guitar lessons, John Bankston, Johnny Pozo, and he thought that Jimi Hendrix, he thought that Jim Morrison and some of the others that died young, even Janis Joplin, were all murdered by the administration, because back then it was, it wasn't Republicans, Democrats, it was us and the establishment. They hated us, we hated them back a little bit more. But anyway, so they were really, Richard Nixon and company were really down on the counterculture and the long hair and the weed smoking, what all of us long-haired leaping gnomes were doing. And they, that's why, like I said before, Richard Nixon classified marijuana with heroin, because he knew the Jerry Rubins and all of these leaders of the counterculture and the peace movement, the anti-war movement, he knew they all smoked pot. So if he could just arrest them with some pot, put them in prison for the rest of their lives. So he made that drug a real stiff penalty, So it was a crazy time back then. So when people start talking about, some of these musicians that were like leaders of the counterculture that had big influence when they talk, it's I'm not a conspiracy theorist type of guy, but some people tell these stories with convictions, and it makes you wonder a little bit. It's not totally unbelievable. Is what I'm saying.
Okay. I just noticed too. We talked about he didn't have anything in the top 10. He did have a song in the top 40. That was all along the Watchtower.
Yeah, and I really like that song. Kind of reminds me of Game of Thrones, the Watchtower. No, not really.
Well, I wonder if, since he was in the Army, I kind of wonder if that had anything to do with his Army days.
What? Maybe he was a paratrooper though, but I guess they all still have some kind of watch duty from.
Oh yeah, everybody.
Yeah, everybody. Yeah, you would know that. I wouldn't. I'm just speculating.
I stood many a watch.
Right.
But it was all along the ship, not a watchtower, though.
Right. No, I had to stand up at study hall a lot for talking, That was
that's close.
Yeah. My friend Greg Clow was the only guy anybody ever met would fall asleep standing up at the front of the class for talking. He'd fall asleep standing up.
Well, in the military, you do learn how to do that.
Do you really?
Oh yeah.
No, that's funny, man. Okay, let's see, Gary Spring. Yeah, okay, so where were we? We're talking about some of the albums that Jimi Hendrix put out. He had the 3 studio albums, the Jimi Hendrix Are You Experienced, Axis Bolt of Love, and Electric Ladyland. But after that, there were some other albums. In fact, people are still a little bit surprised that they continue to put out new work. But what they say was Jimi Hendrix was a workaholic when it came to his music. And he's filled about every minute of the day, playing, recording, and things like that. So there was like a huge body of work. But there were 2 albums that came out that were made before his death, came out afterwards. and I'm going to just pull those out. I'm not gonna tear them apart. I'm not gonna take them out of their wrappers or anything like that. But one of them was "Cry of Love." "Cry of Love" was put out after Jimmy's death, and this is a great little album here. And I've played it. It sounds really good. The vinyl's in great shape. It's a great album. Now the other one was "Band of Gypsies." When the lineup had changed a little bit in the band, he actually had Billy Cox, who I met and shook hands with at the tribute to Hendrix show at the Arlington Theater in Santa Barbara. Billy Cox was there signing guitar straps. And I wish now I would have bought one. It's like, what do I need a signature on a guitar strap for? But you know, I played to the freaking Band of Gypsies, you know. I wish now I would have just done it. Screw it. Even though I'm not, like I said before, an autograph hound. Every once in a while, you know, especially as it relates to Jimi Hendrix. But Buddy Miles, you know, he had that album, Them Changes. I saw him at the Las Vegas Convention Center, you know, after he'd been in Band of Gypsies and played on this album. And oh man, first time I'd ever seen, you know, big guy, drum set in front of all the other instruments, huge afro, biggest afro I've ever seen, wearing a tank top and just beating the heck out of those drums. And it was pretty impressive. So this was an album that came out after Jimmy's death too. Now, of course, most everything else has come out after his death, but these were ones that that were in the works and almost done. And this one's a 1970 first pressing of this Jimi Hendrix Band of Gypsies. Okay. So anyway, so I got that, and recently, let's see. Recently, I picked up, and I have this on a lot of the. I think most, if not all of these, I have on CD as well. But I did pick up the Jimi Hendrix BBC sessions, and this is great. I mean, it's in colored vinyl, pressed on orange vinyl, you know, and I've played this, and I have it on CD. It's a two CD set that I have. I have to show this one just because it's got this pretty orange vinyl. And it's got all the good songs on it, you know, Purple Haze, Day Tripper, the Beatles' Day Tripper, Spanish Castle, Jammin', I Was Made to Love Her, Introducing the Experience, Burning the Midnight Oil. Okay, and a lot of the Hey Joe, Foxy Lady, Little Miss Lover. Anyway, I won't read them all. So anyway, this is a great album. This BBC sessions. I also have Led Zeppelin's BBC sessions. First couple of times I wasn't crazy about it, but after listening to it a couple more times, I actually really like it. It's good.
You know, something you mentioned before in previous shows about Jimi Hendrix being at Woodstock, that it's, you know, one of the most played songs that you see from Woodstock is the Star Spangled Banner.
The Star Spangled Banner. That's huge.
But most people don't realize that when Jimi Hendrix performed that, 90% of the crowd had already left.
No, that's right. In fact, they extended the concert for an additional day on a Monday. It was supposed to have ended the day before, but he got there so late that's exactly right. He played to a really sparse crowd.
Yeah, they estimated about 40,000 he performed in front of.
Yeah, as opposed to the 300,000 to 400,000 that were there.
Yeah.
That's crazy, isn't it? Yeah, no, that was yeah. In fact, speaking of Jimi Hendrix at Woodstock, I have Jimi Hendrix at Woodstock.
Now, is that another one? Is that another one that was produced after his death? I know.
Let's see. Let me think about that for a minute. I think after the movie came out, and okay, so the concert was in '69. Hendrix died in '70. So that's a really good question, Dan. Does anybody out there know the answer to that?
Yeah, because he passed away not too long after Woodstock. I mean, just a year or so.
Yeah. I'm not 100% sure, but obviously it's you know it's.
Let's see, what day
they made it?
What day did he die on?
Let's see. He died September 18th, 1970.
Oh, he died just a year after Woodstock.
Just a year after Woodstock. So,
yeah.
So I'm not sure, to be honest with you. This is authorized by the Hendrix family.
Uh,
There seems to be two Hendrix families now, and they're both authorized to release Hendrix materials.
uh,
And so there was a riff in the family, you know. Kind of reminds me of this Indian casino not too far from here. Only certain tribal members were getting any money from it, so the rest of the tribe came in there armed with guns, and the place got shut down for about a year and a half till they all got it sorted out. I think other people are getting paid now finally. Okay, so anyway, this is Woodstock, you know, and I'm unboxing this. I've never opened this before. It's not like it's a new album. I think I've had this on CD before, but I feel like I want to do a little true unboxing here. And this is a real beefy album here, you know. I mean the cover. Okay. Jimmy, the white fringed leather jacket. I have a huge picture out there hanging in my entryway, and a musician made it for me who's a good artist, and he sent me a couple of Jimmys he'd already painted, and I said, no, it's got to be the white fringe from Woodstock, and so he made the white fringe from Woodstock for me. And this is a, let's see, two album set with Jim. Here, here's Jimmy playing with his teeth. That's great. With his teeth behind his head, you know, seen all that before. The guy was just an amazing guitar player. Okay, so anyway, so it's a two album set. I'm gonna put it away now. This is great. Yeah, I have a lot of Hendrix stuff. So much of it I haven't opened some of it, as you can see. Anyway, so Jimmy died, and this came up on another show last week. Again, we were talking about how people were speculating on the whole murder thing. Did anybody have an opinion on that in the chat? Do you think some of these, you know, famous musicians during the counterculture era, you know, like Jim Morrison and Jimi Hendrix, and there were some others, do you think that some of them could have been killed by our own government? What do you think?
Was Jimmy protesting against the government? I mean, was he pro-government?
Well, when you listen to like Machine Gun or the Star Spangled Banner, I wouldn't. I love the Star Spangled Banner, but I wouldn't say it was the most respectful song. way of, you know, when you heard all that dive bombing and bombs exploding, all done off his guitar. I mean, I love that song. I really do.
Because you know, he was a veteran, you know, and I'm wondering if a lot of his military experience came out in his music, you know.
That's a thought. Yeah, that's an interesting idea. I got the early BBC set on Ryko, 3-sided clear light green vinyl, like their CDK. Well, that's cool. That's great, man. Yeah.
You know, people have asked too if Jimi Hendrix ever destroyed any of his guitars.
Oh, well,
yeah, he did. You know, there's I think the big example is, you know, he had a guitar and he was trying to smash it, and it didn't break.
Right.
So he ran backstage, got some lighter fluid, threw lighter fluid on, and set it on fire. And that's where that.
That's exactly right. Yeah, I think that was Monterey Pop.
Yes.
And another time, he was real pissed off at his instrument, and he tried to break it. It didn't break, so he ran over an amplifier, and he slammed it into the amplifier, and it stuck into the speakers. You know? They had to get help to pull it back out.
Well, what if he was one of the first? I wonder if he's one of the first, because the Who did it too. But
the Who did it too.
I don't know if the Who did it.
Throw a few pictures out while we're at it here. Here he was playing that. He seemed to like that Gibson Flying V a lot too. But there was nothing like the Stratocaster. And of course, he always played a right-handed Stratocaster, and he was a lefty. So, like I mentioned earlier when we were talking about his first electric guitar, he strung it upside down with the the high and low E's were reversed, you know, and it actually changed the sound a little bit of the guitar because of the way the third let me get rid of this picture. The third pickup, the first two are kind of perpendicular to the guitar. When you get back to the third one, it's cocked. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so the strings cross it differently, in particular the low E. That's the biggest difference. So they talk about little things like that also impacting. And here's what is okay now. So here's a guitar strung upside down, and that's how he played his electric guitars. He just strung them upside down.
Yeah, you can see that one down there cockeyed a little bit.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So at this point, the low E and the high E have been reversed. So it's a little further reach for that. So it, I don't know how much that changes anything, but I've read that it, that it might change it some. Okay. All right, we saw that one already. Here's Jimmy playing behind his head.
Yeah, and Jimmy's not the first one to play it behind his head either. He actually picked that up from somebody else. I can't remember who that was.
Yeah, and I've seen it before, and I've seen other people play with their teeth before too. But he did this one show in England, and I don't know if it was his final performance or what. But hold on, let me get rid of this. Get rid of this picture. But they said there was teeth laying all over the stage after he played. After he played with his teeth, he broke some teeth off, banging it on the fretboard. I just think that's.
With electronics back in those days too, he's lucky to get electrocuted.
Well, that's true, huh? That happens sometimes. Wow. Okay, so the band, the Jimi Hendrix Experience, by November had their first 2 top 10 singles. Hey Joe, Purple Haze, and The Wind Cries Mary were all in the top 10.
Well, that's what I get. That's what I get for researching on the internet.
No, but
so he did have a top 10.
Jimi Hendrix, he liked the Beatles a lot too. He liked a lot of those bands. And the very day Sgt. Pepper's was released, Jimmy had a concert, and he went out there and played one of the songs off Sgt. Pepper's, just released that day. His version of it. And it doesn't sound anything like the Beatles version, but they were all impressed with him. Okay, so Michael Chavez. Hey, how you doing, buddy? How you doing, Michael? Good to see you in here. I want to say hi to my friend Michael. Thank you for joining us. We appreciate it. And I'm going to retype that. So Dan, did you own some Jimi Hendrix albums at all?
I've got 2 of them.
You do? Which ones do you have?
I got the Jimi Hendrix Experience and Are You Experienced? I think that's not the same.
Are You Experienced? Right.
Are You Experienced? Yeah.
Yeah. Well, what do I have left here? I've got Jimi Hendrix Rainbow Bridge. And this is the original motion picture soundtrack, Rainbow Bridge. And it's got Jimi Hendrix Experience, Like a Rolling Stone. Rock Me Baby, a B.B. King song. Can't You See Me? Wind Cries Mary. I mean, this Wild Things on here. Can't Get No Satisfaction. There's a whole bunch of cool covers here, Can't Get No Satisfaction, Wild Thing. What was that by the Trogs?
Yeah.
Try a Little Tenderness. I mean, that's well, I know it is an Otis Redding song, but I don't know that he was the first. Try a Little Tenderness. Harry Woods and Jimmy Campbell. Yeah. But I loved the other version of it. So anyway, then I have the Jimi Hendrix Experience at Winterland. And that's obviously going to be in colored vinyl. Whenever you see this up here, pressed on orange vinyl with exclusive litho on it. All right. I'm sorry. I'm going to have to open this exclusive litho. I got a bunch of stuff here that I've had for like, a year that I haven't opened. So we're going to have a quick look at this. I got to see what that looks like. All right. I just bought a 2-album set of Eric Burdon and the Animals, Eric Burdon Retrospective, and it's about the same color orange. Okay, Winterland. All right. Are You Experienced? Purple Haze, Little Wing, Hey Joe. Well, that's all you need right there. Fire, Foxy Lady, and Like a Rolling Stone. Got great songs on it.
Yeah, you're gonna have to check out that album. I just mentioned him a little while ago. The Jimi Hendrix Experience, Los Angeles Forum, April 26, 1969. It was released for his birthday, his past birthday.
Okay, at the LA Forum, huh?
Yeah.
Here's the original lineup: Jimi Hendrix Experience, Mitch Mitchell, Noel Redding, and Jimmy himself. Okay. All right, I tell you what, I'm getting a lot of colored vinyl. We'll go through another one here. The Jimi Hendrix Experience, Freedom from the Atlanta Pop Festival. I think you were mentioning this not too long ago, Dan. I'm not sure what the conversation was exactly, but I bought this at Walmart on, the Black Friday sale day last year with 4 or 5 other albums, really marked down. Every single one of them was warped when I got them home, and I took them all back and they exchanged them all. And I had better luck the second time, but this is pretty cool. It's white with kind of blue marbling. Oh, that wasn't too cool. Okay, so anyway, that is the Atlanta Pop Festival. Okay, then there's a couple of like old favorites of mine in there that are albums that I had forever on like CDs. And one of them is Smash Hits, Jimi Hendrix Smash Hits. It's a compilation, but it's a really, really good compilation. I take that with me a lot, my CD version of that. Jimi Hendrix Smash Hits. It's got just about so many songs that I like on it. Look at these guys. I'm dressed up. Purple Haze, Fire, The Wind Cries Mary, Can You See Me, Hey Joe, Stone Free, Manic Depression, Foxy Lady, Crosstown Traffic, All Along the Watchtower, Red House, Remember. That's just a great album. We don't need to talk about this one too much. It's a double album set. It's Jimi Hendrix, The Best of Jimi Hendrix. This got, like I said, it's a double album set. It's got pretty much all my favorites on it. This I had on CD. And when I saw it finally out in an album, which I'm sure it wasn't in and out, they weren't even making them then, it was all CDs. But this is Jimi Hendrix Blues, and it's a double album set. I have it on CD, and I have had it on CD since it came out. And it's really got some interesting stuff on it. Of course, including Red House, which was the big blues song. So there's a couple of pictures I have to show now. And it actually saddens me to show them. Okay, Jimi Hendrix. Okay. Seattle, Washington, where he's from. This is his, right here. I'll show this picture next. I have that by itself. I would actually really like to go up there sometime, pay my respects.
Now, he died in London, right?
He died in England. And when they were speculating last week that maybe he was murdered, it's funny because I had just read a story on his dying, and his girlfriend at the time was in the apartment with him in London. And when she found him, he was, trouble breathing and stuff. He was alive when she found him. And she called, the hospital or whatever. They sent out an ambulance. He was alive when they got there. But they said that he choked to death on his own vomit, asphyxiated himself. like throwing up and it getting caught in his throat and going back down the wrong tube and whatever. I don't know if you've ever felt a sensation like that before, but every once in a while I've had some really bad heartburn at night, and I've woke up with everything plugged and burning and not being able to breathe and having to just kind of get myself under and not drinking or anything. It was just like some kind of acid reflux or something. I can't even imagine being on barbiturates and being really drunk and having that happen, you know. But anyway, that's what they said he died from, and he had a girlfriend there that was actually telling the story in this article I was reading, you know.
Yeah, I think before she called the ambulance, they say his last words were, "I need help bad."
Okay.
I suppose that's what he told his girlfriend.
So, yeah, so he relocated back to the United States after becoming a big star in England, enjoying further acclaim with the sprawling panoramic double album Electric Ladyland. And the second half of his career, let's see, Electric Ladyland. But the second half of his career proved frustrating. Legal complications from an old contract. He had an old contract that predated his British going to England and becoming a star. So all his money was the royalties were all frozen because he had an old contract that wasn't being followed. So anyway, that was bad news for him. He was on the verge of solving both these problems when he died of an overdose of barbiturates, leaving behind a massive stockpile of work in progress that were eventually edited and completed by others. Now, it was about, I don't know, maybe 12 years ago, a new Jimi Hendrix album came out. There's been some since, and it was called, let's see, Venus something or other. I can't remember exactly what. Does anybody help me out on the name of that album that came out about 12 years ago? Let's see. I'm trying to remember the name of it. It was it had kind of a nautical name, I think. I bought the CD at the time.
Another that's pretty unique about Jimi Hendrix is that he didn't know how to read music.
Right.
And
he did, yeah.
They asked him, I said, "Do you know how to read music?" He goes, "No, not at all."
Wow.
I wonder how difficult it is to not be able to read music, to create music without knowing how to write it down or read it. Plus playing the guitar, left-handed, strung upside down, or behind his head, just amazing.
No, I know. Did Dimebag Darrell read music?
Yes.
Did he? Okay.
Yeah. Well, I don't think initially. He actually did take some lessons early on when he was about 18 or so. He took some lessons, but then he realized he was actually better than the teacher. So
yeah, right. Well, Aaron, Mr. Bizarro nailed it. Valley of Neptune. Thank you. For some reason, I just drew a blank. I bought that CD when it came out, and it was pretty good. Some stuff that went in the can years ago. They finally got it out on tape. And Mr. Aaron, did you like that? Did you like Valley of Neptune? I'm sure you listened to it.
Probably one of the reasons why there's so much, I don't know if there's new stuff coming out with Hendrix, but what a lot of musicians do when they go in the studio, the moment they enter the studio, they hit the record button. They're recording everything all the time.
Everything all the time.
Just because if someone comes up with a riff or whatever, and they go, "Well, that was great, play it again." They go, "I don't know what I played." Well, they've got, a recording to show what he played while he was messing around. So it's kind of like a ongoing taking notes, basically,
right. Well, so Michael Nolan just mentioned People, Hell, and Angels. Now, Michael, didn't that come out in like 2013? I didn't get that. In fact, I haven't even seen it anywhere. Valley of Neptune. I love it. I liked it too. Yeah, I didn't even have to warm up to it. I liked it instantly. Monkeys fan as well. Caitlin's a Monkeys fan. I just got to mention. Okay. I liked it, Royce. That's the last I bought of the stuff on CD. Yeah, that's kind of me too. Thank you. I appreciate hearing that. I liked it. I still have it here on CD. Michael Nolan, The Bottom Line. Missed it by that much. Okay. So I just want to do a little shout out for Caitlin. She's a good friend of the show, good friend of mine. She has a show called Caitlin's Corner. I believe she's still going twice a week. I've missed the last couple. I've been so busy working that her shows are usually during the day. And when I can, if it's not too loud out, I'll turn it on, set my phone down, and work while she's playing. And but it's really hard at work right now, especially when we've got big equipment on the job doing things.
Well,
And
yeah, I'd like to give a shout out to Caitlin too. She just wrote an article about the current Pantera tour, which is really nice.
oh, I haven't seen that. Oh, nice.
Yeah,
Awesome.
she'll have to put out the link. I've got it somewhere.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. No, I really want to read that. Valley of Neptune, 2 LP set. Yeah. If I find that on vinyl, I'm going to get it. Put up your channel link, Caitlin. Caitlin, please put up your channel link. Everybody needs to know how to get to your channel. I know there's another Caitlin's Corner, so sometimes it's kind of hard because that other Caitlin's been going at it for a really long time. And thank you guys. Yeah, get it out there, Caitlin. Yeah, like I said, Caitlin's like family here. She's been with us from the beginning, and we really enjoy her being here. Okay, so let's see. Where were we? Okay, so when he came back to the United States, that's when things got complicated with that old that old contract he had that he kind of forgot about and went off and became famous, and then the money got all tied up. For Hendrix, the thunderous drama of his hard rock band was but a fraction of what he aspired and wanted to do. He wanted more complex music for larger ensembles rather than simply to improvise endlessly in front of the rhythm section. I hate to say it, but I loved his improvising. You know, when he did all the songs for "Are You Experienced," the record people said, no. You cannot sell a song longer than 3 minutes. You've got long song that you can't do this. And now we know how it is now. But so he had to cut all those amazing songs down to 3 minutes. And he did a great job doing it too, because they're still amazing songs. But it's just too bad that they didn't leave a little more of his improv in there, because that's the part that I like the most, you know. Jimmy Page and Jimi Hendrix. I mean, the improv is just amazing. I want to ask Randy, Mr. Bizarro, a question. Now, when I hear Jimmy Page and John Bonham play, that's like a match made in heaven. I mean, they are so in sync with one another musically when they're both playing. No matter how out there they might get, or Jimmy Page might get, they still seem to stay in sync with each other. Now, when I hear Jimi Hendrix and Mitch Mitchell, you know, play together, I feel the same way listening to Mitch Mitchell's drumming as I do about John Bonham's drumming. In fact, I think he's the most underrated. I said this before you got here, Aaron. I think Mitch Mitchell, that Jimi Hendrix Experience, is the most underrated drummer there is, period, bar none. I think he's fantastic. The way he keeps up with Hendrix and the interlude between the drums and the guitar, I think it's just fantastic. Anyway, that's my 2 cents on that. I would like to hear from others how they feel about that. Right off the bat, when I start listening to Hendrix, I start noticing the drums. I mean, they really stand out to me. Okay, so okay. Okay, audience is waiting for him to smash or burn his guitar. Nevertheless, in all his too brief a career, he managed to combine and extend the soaring improvisational transcendence of John Coltrane, the rhythmic virtuosity of James Brown, and the bluesy intimacy of John Lee Hooker. lyrical aesthetics of Bob Dylan, and bare knuckle onstage aggression of the Who. That's a hell of a statement there, and I get it. I totally get it, and I agree with that. Um, and the hallucinatory studio fantasies of the Beatles. Hendrix' work provides a continuing source of inspiration to successive generations of musicians, to whom he remains a touchstone for emotional honesty, technological innovation, and an all-inclusive vision of cultural and social brotherhood. The Jimi Hendrix Experience was inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in 1992. And boy, that is well deserved. I mean, wow. That is an amazing story right there. Daddy Boggs, correct, DGH. Okay. So the Vaultmeister, Daddy Boggs, cool. The Vaultmeister, isn't that
Joe Travers.
Joe Travers? Yeah.
Yeah, funny guy.
Yeah, he is. The drummer for Frank Zappa. Yeah, we all know him. We're all on shows together. To me, Zappa was my very classical guy. I only sang with Zappa once. Marvin, you sang with Zappa? Well, I sang with Eric Burden. I was at a concert and everybody was singing House of the Rising Sun, but I sang with him.
I met Frank Zappa once back in 1977.
Oh, you did?
Yeah,
Nice.
yeah. He was at a local club. He was performing here in Dallas, and
Yeah.
the day before he went to a club, and I knew he was going to be there, so I made sure I was there. And actually
Right.
got to meet him just for
Good.
just about 5 or 10 minutes.
Right. What did he die from?
Cancer, colon cancer, I believe.
Oh, he did. Oh, shoot. Same thing my father died from. I mean, that's where it started. That wound up in his lungs, his liver, his bones, everywhere else. That's horrible stuff. But anyway, guys, I really appreciate everybody that joined. I have to show real quick. Won't get into a lot of detail, but I have a couple of box sets, Hendrix box sets. This one's called Live in Maui, and Hendrix was at the top of his game when he agreed to do 2 free concerts in Maui, Hawaii. And if you look at the pictures in the book here, there's like maybe 200 people. Hendrix, top of his game, out in the middle of nowhere in Maui, playing these 2 free concerts. So I've got to show this off a little bit. I really love this album. It came with a Blu-ray DVD with both concerts on it. You can watch the concerts on TV, and I think that's pretty cool. But I mean, you can see the size of the crowd. I mean, this is no Woodstock here.
Yeah.
I mean, there's like nobody there. Big blank spaces right up by the stage and everything. Reminded me of that Dick Dale show I went to. You just walk right up to the stage and watch him play. It was crazy. So anyway, I gotta show you a couple of things here. Like I said, I didn't want to spend a lot of time with this, but here's the Blu-ray DVD. Music, Money, and Madness. Both concerts are on here. Okay, and then you've got look at the sleeves these things came with. These heavy cardboard sleeves. I really like this. And nice. What would you call that? That color. I mean, on the label, that really cool looking. I mean, this stuff is brand new, pristine, 180 gram vinyl. Okay, so there's 3 of these and the Blu-ray DVD, and of course, you're going to have a booklet, a bunch of pictures in it. Saying 200 people. That's just amazing. I would have thought people would have came from all over all the islands. There would have been thousands of people found their way to this concert, but I guess maybe it just didn't get advertised or something. But yeah, this thing has a lot of great pictures in it of the concert, and it's pretty cool. It's hard to show this stuff on this little camera up here, but anyway, so I wanted to show that before I put it all away. And let's see, Music, Money, and Madness, the The Blu-ray DVD, Blu-ray, whatever it's called. All right, this is a really unique kind of a case here, you know. All right, I can see I'm going to be putting this away later. Seems to be something down in here, whatever that was. All right, so Dan, you got anything else, or?
Not really towards Jimi Hendrix. I mean, you know way more about.
When is Pantera supposed to be here in the United States?
It starts, I believe, in June.
And you said you saw the concert schedule for your area, huh?
Yeah, they're going to be in Dallas, August 18th and the 20th. They're only performing on the 18th. And it's going to be a pretty good weekend because that's actually Dimebag Darrell's birthday weekend.
Oh, it is.
And that's usually the weekend I have Ride for Dime going, you know, but I don't do that anymore.
Oh, yeah. But, you think they're going to pack them in like they're doing like in Mexico and stuff?
Oh, yeah. It's almost sold out here in Dallas.
Oh, it is already.
You know, 100,000 seats, and they're going for $800 a piece. And it's almost sold out. So I don't know how the rest of the country's doing, but their hometown is selling tickets like crazy.
Well, you know what? I got something I'm going to show, but I'm not going to open it. And I'm sure you've seen it before, Dan. But what this is a 8-album, 2 inches thick, 8-album Jimi Hendrix box set. This thing was made in 2000, the year 2000. So it's going on 23 years old. It's never been taken out of the shrink wrap. I've only owned it for a little over a year. I found it in a music store. It's got 8 albums on it, and none of these are studio albums. These are all just different versions, you know, different versions of the songs that basically we all know. So you get kind of a unique perspective. I mean, like album 1's got Purple Haze on it, and Hey Joe, Down on This Killing Floor, you know, bluesy song that Zeppelin covered. But album 2 also has Hey Joe on it, Third Stone from the Sun, and songs that you don't even find on a studio albums too. Like, okay, here's disc 5, I Don't Live Today, Room Full of Mirrors, Star Spangled Banner. The next disc has Little Wing and Red House on it together. And this one over here has got If 6 Were 9, I'm skipping, Rock Me Baby, Like a Rolling Stone. Hendrix really loved Bob Dylan's style. This one's got The Wind Cries Mary, Catfish Blues, Bold as Love. The next one you've got Gloria, G-L-O-R-I-A, Gloria. Okay, so there's a lot of trippy stuff here that you don't hear him doing. This one's got Hear My Train A-Coming on it. I mean, there's like, okay, there's probably 3 or 4 versions of Purple Haze, you know, on these 8 albums. So it's pretty interesting. And Little Wing, Red House, Johnny Be Good. Like I said, a lot of stuff you don't hear on Hendrix's studio albums. You won't hear it here. But this has got 96 unreleased or unavailable recordings. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Now, are these live versions of these songs, and if they are live, are they from different venues?
Well, what it says, new limited edition 8 LP box set includes 56 unreleased or unavailable recordings, 40-page full-color book filled with rare photos. Each album was pressed on 180-gram virgin vinyl in separate album jackets with art. Never before heard takes of your favorite Hendrix songs like Purple Haze, Hey Joe, and a stunning version of Little Wing. Now, I would think that most of them are like studio, you know, just stuff they didn't use, different takes that they didn't use.
Yeah.
But I mean, some of them could be live too. Having not listened to it, I mean, I could probably try to find that out, but I think that's a great question.
Well, you would think if it was live that they would at least tell you when and where it was recorded at, you know.
Yeah.
What city.
Yeah. Okay. Well, let's see. Let's see if they have any of those kinds of notes here. Okay. Okay. Purple Haze, previously unreleased recording. Okay, Dan. Purple Haze on the first album is on a. It's a previously unreleased recording. But then Killing Floor was live at Olympia Theater in Paris, France.
Okay.
Hey Joe was recorded live at the Olympia Theater in Paris, France. Foxy Lady was a previously unreleased recording again. So it's a mix. You've
Yeah.
got some live recordings and just unreleased recordings. Yeah, yeah. Look, okay, so like side B of that same disc one, previously unreleased recording of Hey Joe, another previously unreleased recording, Third Stone from the Sun, previously. Okay, so everyone on that side is a previously unreleased recording, not a live.
Okay.
So it is mixed. In fact, on disc 5, all three of them are unreleased recordings. Yeah, so it's a mixed bag. But it looks like most of them are previously unreleased recordings. So it's going to be fun when I finally break it open. Anyway, I just want to thank everybody for being here. You guys are all appreciated. Appreciate all my friends who came out tonight, supported us, had a great time talking about my. Well, it's always been Hendrix and Led Zeppelin for me, 1 and 2, and everybody else comes underneath those two. And for me, that's just the way it is, So we're gonna sign off now, and I want to thank you guys all once again. You are appreciated, and I look forward to seeing you all again soon. And some of you, I've got to catch up and start coming onto your shows again. Been real busy lately with work, and it's been a little bit harder. But anyway, thank you all so much, and we shall thank you, Dan. I really appreciate you.
No problem.
This is Just the Facts Man, Dan McNew. Great podcaster. He's had a show for a very, very long time. And so go check out Just the Facts Man. He's got a lot of contacts in the entertainment world. He's brought bands to my show that we've enjoyed. He's brought actors to my show or that were musicians, that still are musicians, but now they're making a lot of movies. And Dan's very well connected with the entertainment industry. Personal friends of Dimebag and Vinny of Pantera, both of whom are deceased now, obviously. And anyway, so check Dan out. Dan's got some great stuff, and you're really going to enjoy checking him out. Okay, Marvin, you have a good one too, buddy. Thank you. Daddy Boggs grabs trophy and leaves. That's great. All right, so thank you guys, and that's what's going on in Royce's world today. Thank you all so much, and we'll see you next week. Bye.
See you later.